Hey there, listener. Welcome to the Deep Share Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Rouse, and for the last couple of decades, I've slowly been opening my eyes to a very different world than the one I grew up hearing about. And the more conversations I have with interesting people, the more mystifying this world becomes. So without further ado, let's get deep.
We've got science to celebrate! Demons bliss now! After what, baby? Come on!
There is rebellion in the wind. It will be crushed.
Everything I've said is true. It's real.
Dinosaur fossils? God put those here to test our faith.
A damn lie. I saw them with my own eye.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
We did illusions, man! None of it is true!
I'm not insane.
This is mass madness, you maniacs! In God's name, you people are the real thing! We are the illusion!
Yeah, me too. Okay, did I hit record though? Record on this computer. Okay, cool. There we go.
Sweet. So
Dude,
I believe we're on.
Zoom is cool, but sometimes it's kind of bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I for a while I only used it for work, and even then I was like, this fucking sucks. Like, I guess I got like the work aspect into my head. Like, I only, why am I on this? But
do we want to talk about how Zoom wasn't a thing until everybody got locked down? So I bet you they have so much shit on people.
well, and it's a Chinese company too, right?
Is it?
Is it? I didn't even know that.
Yes. At least like from what I've looked into, like a Chinese firm holds a large portion of Zoom. And you're right, because what was the golden standard for 20 years? Skype, baby.
Skype and FaceTime.
Yeah, and now no one Skype. Like, I saw a meme, or maybe it was a video. It was like, "Hey, I'm the CEO." It was like a TikTok, and it was just a guy. He was like, "Hey, I'm the CEO of Skype." And what the fuck, people? We were there for you all these years, and now just these fucking new guys come up, and we're trash. We did it first. We do it better, and we're just gone. We're fucked now. And it's
what happened?
What happened?
I don't even know.
One podcaster asked us to do Skype. And it was
me too.
I was like, I have to download this, and what the fuck? I don't even know how to use Skype. It was Comedic Cabal Jim.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah, he's a cool guy. And after we did the podcast, I haven't heard from him. So I don't know.
It was a good time, and he's like, "Yeah, this probably won't come out for a couple months because I'm trying to like stockpile episodes and stuff."
Yeah,
so, like,
I need to just hit him up and
see stuff
see.
to put out, and we haven't heard jack of anything.
Yeah, he's friends with like Janet and that crowd. That crowd. Janet's the best. Have you talked to Janet?
What's that?
Have you talked to Janet?
Yeah. I was on her show a little while ago. Yeah, she's awesome. I love chatting with Janet. She's great.
If I didn't have a mom, I wish Janet was my mom. You know what I mean? That's just me.
Will you adopt me, Janet?
Yeah. So, well, I guess we should do introductions since we're recording. We're doing it.
We're doing a Swapcast, right? So
absolutely
might as well.
And so for our listeners, we have Andy here from the Deep Share Podcast.
Hello.
And then for your listeners,
we're
the no, you were gonna set us up. You're setting us up. Come on.
This is the Big Dumb Podcast with Puddz and Kyle. This is great.
Oh no, we gotta go back. It's Puddz.
Puddz.
It's a weird name.
That's okay.
Dude.
Was it Janet called me Pud?
Yeah, Pud. It's.
Oh, what did I say? I said Puds, I guess.
I thought you said Buds.
Yeah.
Which is
no. That would be cool.
Buds, but
yeah.
Puddz.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
that
it.
pop filter not letting you speak.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that's so yeah, we're the Big Dumb Podcast. I'm Kyle. This is Puddz. He has a real name, but we were like, fuck it, let's do a fucking cool name for you. That's his nickname.
Hey,
see, I was one of those,
notorious. Maybe he's too notorious for exposure like that.
My own good.
Notorious PUD. That's fucking right.
That's great.
I never had a nickname growing up, so like someone like people gave you a nickname, right?
Yeah.
So I had to give.
It wasn't a good thing at the time. I didn't know that. Though.
Yeah, I had to give myself a nickname, and it's just not as cool. I call myself the Rain Man because my last name is Rainy.
Yeah.
So, but it's like it's not as cool because no one calls me that. I call myself that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I'm known in other parts as the Rain Man. You may not know those people though.
Yeah, it's
How
like
many
they go to
toothpicks, Kyle?
they go to different school. 496 toothpicks.
496. That's
So Andy, dude, I already love the energy tonight. I love where this is going.
I
Yeah.
figured this would happen. Hell yeah. We're
Awesome.
all part of the same crew.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. From what I've gathered, you're fairly new to podcasting. I mean, as
Yeah.
are we. But like, when did you get started, and how did you get started?
I really kind of settled on like the name and the art and like got ready to start advertising and getting some guests on in like mid to late January.
Oh
And
wow.
then- But before that, I mean, I've been involved in like, you know, I guess from a social media perspective, at least just forever, just yelling and screaming and upsetting people and making friends and family members unfollow me, you know,
Right.
things like that. Even before all this started, you know, I think I took a break for a while. I just decided to be drunk instead for quite a while and forget all of this was going on. This was like 2010, probably back then. But like, yeah, after I'd say high school was when psychedelics came heavily into my life and my perspective vastly expanded and I could never look back again, basically. And so it was all kind of leading to something like this. I just didn't know what. I thought it might be a book, but I don't have the patience to write a book, I'm finding out. So,
Yeah.
or the time anyway, right?
I can't read or write, so you know.
Oh,
I'm
man.
right there with you.
Yeah, you're out.
Forte.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just
Sorry,
kind
go
of
ahead.
settled into to the situation and started asking guests on, and it started happening. And I started talking to some really awesome people in the community, and it's just this is the greatest community I've ever been a part of, hands down.
I'd have to agree, man. I was just talking to Casey Jones. I just recorded a show with her
Oh, nice.
30 minutes ago, and it was, I mean, and I was explaining to her, like, I would never, this isn't what I started out the podcast. Like, I did not have this is not where I was planning for it to go, but
Yeah.
it just kind of happened. And I'm like, I'm so grateful because I would never get to meet cool people like you or Casey and Missy and Janet and all these cool people that have become like best friends, you know,
Yeah.
because like I was saying, like, you can't have these conversations with people at work or like your buddies that you bowl with or whatever it may
Yeah.
be.
Few
'Cause
and
it's
far
just like-
between.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's great that we've all found each other, you know, as cliche and gay as that is.
Oh, the system brought us together through like mutual hatred and
And I
terror.
hope we, you know, when the day comes, we all end up in the same camp, you know, so we can at least make it lit, you know, and have a good
Yeah.
time.
Can all starve to death together.
Yeah, no, we won't
Oh.
starve. They'll feed us fine because they got to put us to work, but we'll have a good fucking time after.
yeah,
that shit.
man, we'll end up with delicious Soylent Green made from those who didn't work hard enough.
Oh, dude.
But hey, let's not get too hard on this because, like, you know, manifestation and all that. We don't want to accidentally like make the universe think that we're okay with all this shit. All right,
Dude.
we gotta.
Synchronicities are a real thing. I was talking to me and my brother and my parents have a group text, and yesterday morning he texted us and he was like, man, craziest thing happened on the way to work. This guy like was being a dick on the road and like cut me off, and we both exited at the same time off the highway, but it turns out his transmission stalled, and like I ended up helping him push his car out of the way. And I was like, dude, karma's coming your way, man. You did something for a stranger. And literally 20 minutes later, he's like, my boss just gave me like a bonus today, like out of nowhere. And I was like, that's fucking nuts, dude. Like he was even freaked out because I said, hey, karma's coming your way. And then he was like hesitant to tell us he got the bonus. He was like, you freaked me out. And I'm like, dude, that's just how, meanwhile at work, I got fucked. So it's like, you know, it works in mysterious ways, man. Mysterious ways. You never know what's coming your way. And it's true. What you put out there is what you get back, man. And so you got to be careful. Like they say, be careful what you wish for.
Oh,
Right. They've said that forever. And we just go, ha, 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 funny little saying. But, you know, it's embedded. It's embedded in our language, man, over and over again. Like it's almost like the language. It's like not even the elites. There's like consciousness itself on some level is like sneaking secrets into the whole friggin' thing. That's what it feels like to me, especially after like lots of mushrooms.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of makes you consider all those, scientist nerd guys back in the day who's like talked about like the collective consciousness and like the source and all that kind of stuff. Like there's evidence both in the esoteric and in the scientific to kind of back that up, and we're all connected. We're all the same. And it's like, I think like when the radio was invented, like 3 guys came up with it at the same time, and one guy just happened to get the patent first for it, but it like they were independent of each other. Same with like the wheel and like pyramids and shit. Like things just happen because it's out there. Like once you think of something, it's no longer yours. It's the collective, Yep. And I don't know what that means or what to do with it. But like you got to make the best of it,
I've been talking a lot from the perspective lately of the universe being some kind of Russian doll, but that's kind of more of a poetic way to put it. But maybe better put in this circumstance would be like fractals, because there's that theory of like holographic universe, and that actually jives okay with electric universe theory as well. And what's a hologram made from? It's all fractals. And what's a fractal? It's just the same image over and over and over and over again, no matter what scale you look at it, no matter how many times it's broken into a billion pieces. And it feels to me like a lot of our ancient traditions are kind of hinting at something along those lines. And it's very weird. I don't know how to wrap my head around it either, but I definitely experienced those different, like almost like levels of consciousness or reality, whatever.
Yeah.
Psychedelics. And I hear the same thing from a lot of different, just perturbed consciousness states. Doesn't have to be psychedelics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, even like deep meditation, you kind of come to some realizations, but like you said, it's hard to wrap your head around, and it's even harder to explain to people, like, how do you describe to something to somebody that you have never seen before, let alone they've never even thought of before? You know what I mean? Exactly. Like I've never done like a god dose of shrooms or DMT or acid. I mean, I've taken shrooms before, but nothing like super crazy. And so like but when people talk about like, oh, their DMT trips, like they saw this, like how I will never be able to interpret what they say because I haven't experienced it. Even if they give a great description, it's something that you just, to the layman, you'll never be able to comprehend, And so as I say that, why don't you tell us what you've seen in your trips and explain it so that everyone can understand, man? Come on.
Well, I don't think there is any understanding really, because like you said, you really have to experience it yourself. It's all about direct experience. And I'll give you some examples, but I think more importantly, taking a step back and realizing that there's like a middleman to everything, and they put something in place of the original thing all the time. And I say they, but I don't know.
What do you mean by like the middleman? Like what, like there's some like something.
Let's call it a mimicry, or this community loves to say inversion. Our grocery stores are filled with poison. Our medical industry is not there to keep you healthy or help you. You know what I mean? Money's a trap. Organized sports is like theater for war. Like it's all backwards. It's all,
taking it down. Yeah.
Right. And taking an original thing like healthcare, beautiful idea, ruining it. You know what I mean? A grocery store where all the food is, ruin it. You know what I mean? So It's like there's this original good positive intention that consciousness is or puts into this world, but then there's this other force, almost feels like it's kind of like just slithering through consciousness that doesn't want to do that and mimics everything. And I don't think it's like a nefarious thing at those really, really deep levels. And I think we see that on a broad level out here. But what my psychedelic,
it's almost like in like nature, there's a balance. There's no good and no evil, but like some things want to kill and some things have to be eaten and things, you know what I mean? Like a lion is not evil, but it's just not, you wouldn't want to hang out with it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of like the fucking gazelle is not going to be like, hey, let me be friends with the lion. You know what I mean?
It's all from your perspective and who, you know, what's morality, I guess, unfortunately can be viewed more subjectively, I guess,
Mhm.
in real terms, like it's only up to your perspective. But I think people say that and then they try to throw morality out or something. But it's like, no, your perspective matters because we've been taught to throw our perspectives out the window. There's only one perspective. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So we're not even taught to think in terms of our individual perceptions.
Yeah.
But
It's cookie cutter, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's, you know, stamp, everyone's the same.
Yep.
And we're not born that way. And by the
Right.
time, if you do things right, you shouldn't end up that way. You know, it should be different for everybody. And that's why like we do a podcast so we can talk to people and hear their perspectives and get to, and share this with the 10 people who listen to our show. You know what I mean? Like, you know, those people might not have heard what Andy has ever, you know, something he has to say. They've never heard that before, you know? So there we are.
we go. All right. Hey.
Yeah, we try to get fancy with like new equipment, and we're too retarded to figure out how to use it right. So, but
Yeah,
I
you
think
gotta jump right in, right?
Are we
You
still
just gotta jump.
recording? Okay, so we might just end up taking your file for
Well,
recording, but
this is still going. This is still going. So I
Sweet.
think-
Yeah, I'm still going.
okay, yeah, but my audio software stopped. But fuck it, that's why.
Oh.
No, that's why we have a backup.
What do you use for audio anyway?
So right, I mean, I'm on a little MacBook, so I record onto GarageBand, but I also started back because one too many times this happened. So now I just back up directly onto our board. We've got a Rodecaster Pro soundboard, and it saves our ass all the time. It's the best investment I've ever made.
Oh yeah.
So
For
That's
this,
cool.
anyway.
yeah, it's
I
fun
think-
and it does a lot more than I know. So, but
Yeah, we haven't even learned half of what it does. But we
Yeah,
do
those
have
things
fun
are
stuff
intense.
on it.
yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, let's
sorry
get
about
back
that,
into it.
people. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
get back.
we had a little malfunction.
We were fucking flowing, and then you know, the was like, "Hey, no, fuck you guys and your fun conversations."
Yeah.
But we were talking
Your
about
big,
like,
dumb conversation.
yeah, that's us. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Get used to it. Yeah. So
What
I
were
think
we saying?
we were talking about you know, perspectives, and
Yes.
I think you were about to go into how one of your psychedelic experiences and how that kind of changed how you had your perspective, I guess.
Yeah,
you could-
I would say just if you want a good example of like a deep dose, at least from my perspective, was like total body disillusionment at one point. So that was pretty intense.
And what do you mean by that? Like,
As in no more, like my body disappeared in front of me and I became part of the background. And this
Okay.
wasn't like a space out moment. This was like a very this was the peak of the trip where I literally became everything else. And it lasted for what felt like billions of years. And it wasn't torture or anything. It was absolute beauty and peace and serenity. So that was cool. And it kind of brought me back to a place in my life where now I see things as that as above, so below principle with
Right.
everything. And it kind of reminds me of what David Talbot wrote in the holographic universe, talking about all the fractals and how reality kind of just like it mimics itself over and over again. So when I give the example of like the elite mimicking good transformative parts of our lives and selling us on like a useless thing that looks the same, we can blame them. But I think, and I've said this recently on, I think it was with the Rising from the Ashes guys, there's the strings being pulled, but they're coming from outside the room. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it's just these politicians. And I think this is where people go into simulation theory a lot of times, because it does, but they go off into fantasy land. Like you said something that kind of made me think. We just humanize everything. We put our perspective on everything, including the things that we absolutely can't know 100%. Like, for instance, the simulation thing. You know, what do you guys think of simulation theory? Just to bounce it right back to you in a different way.
Well, I think kind of like what you were saying, like the strings are being pulled from outside of the room. It kind of reminds me of the allegory of the cave. You know, how there's the there's the the people in the cave, and they're just seeing the
I'm in it.
that yeah, exactly. That's awesome, dude. And it's basically like, for people just listening or may not know this, it's this allegory of, there's all of us are in the cave, at the bottom of the cave. We're chained up, and we're just staring at the wall of the cave. And then behind us is a fire or a light. And then there's someone doing like puppet shadow stories on the wall. And that's all we know we've been here our whole lives. This is all we know. But like, but then behind that is the exit of the entrance of the cave that you can get up. If you can bring yourself to get up and go out of it, into the light, most people would want to just go back to the comfort of the cave because they'd be too frightened, or the light's too bright, or they couldn't handle it, or their psyche would just break down and disintegrate.
Comfortable with the cave, and so they stay where it's comfortable.
And it's basically the story of the Matrix is the allegory of the cave. Like he unplugs and it's too much, and the one guy's like, oh, I want to stay in and like eat a steak and like bang hookers. It's like, so for some people you can't handle it, so you want to go back into it. But then it's who's pulling the strings? Is it the people holding the sign? Is it whatever's outside the cave, or are they in the cave with us? I don't know, man. And that's like, I think it's like you said, it's something we can never truly know. So it's almost, why spend too much energy trying to figure it out? You'll never know. Like, it's fun to think about, and it's good for like, to kind of realize what you're in, but I don't know how to get out of it, or how to stop it, or how to change it. Like, all I can do is what I can do.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is just try to make yourself aware of the microcosm, macrocosm relationships as much as possible, because in a way it can really help navigate things and kind of remind you that we are all one and stuff. Like the idea of me fading into the background in that experience, it fits this perfectly, Uh-oh.
Oh my God.
Your beautiful faces are gone again.
Jesus, dude. Can you still hear us?
I can hear you fine. You guys are coming through smooth.
Okay, well, I might just switch cameras because that's weird.
Well, I'd say just get out of GarageBand and see how it goes.
Yeah,
maybe it's GarageBand.
Yeah. Okay.
Silly GarageBand.
Dude, I know it's like the most basic bitch software. Hey, if you're listening, I'm gonna cut this out. I don't want them to know I use GarageBand. I'll get so much shit. See,
What?
No, I just turned mine off.
Okay.
For a second.
Okay. Weird, man. Weird. Okay, now we're back. All I did was click a button.
That's
weird. Are you getting an echo or anything?
No, actually, everything's good.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, dude. Like, so unprofessional.
No worries. I don't think there's anything professional about us podcasters yet. I think this is a grassroots movement. And have you ever seen that movie with Philip Seymour Hoffman, Pirate Radio?
Yeah.
I think it's based on a true story of some kind. But
off like the British coast or something like that. They're playing rock and roll and
we just need to pool money at some point and buy a yacht together. All of us, a massive yacht, and that will be our pirate radio or pirate ship. That might be better.
Fucking wooden pirate ship with cannons, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude.
A pirate ship up against Skynet. This is going to be a weird movie.
Oh, dude, we should write. Well, first we should write the movie and get the
copyright that shit.
Buy the rights for it. But and like you said, I hold my, I just kind of like we don't all have producers, you know what I mean? We don't all have a Jamie in the background or Johnny that's just running this shit, Yeah. Joe doesn't, those people who have like, the money and the power and the audience and the influence, like you said, we're a grassroots movement. We don't have most of us probably have a 9-to-5 job and families and things to do. And it's like, you do what you can, man. And I was just talking with Casey about this, I was like, am I doing enough? Am I, to kind of not necessarily save, but like, am I doing my part? And because sometimes I get discouraged. Like right now when my shit fucking cuts out, I'm like, man, I fucking suck. Like, what am I going to do? And it's like, hey, you're doing it, man. You know what I mean? Like,
I got one.
Oh, okay.
I got one to make you feel better.
Okay, please. I need it now.
I had one of the best conversations, and I know that like you come out of a lot of podcasts, like that was the best conversation, but like, holy shit, guys, like this was next level stuff with Crow 777.
Oh,
and
damn.
Zoom did something as soon as I exited the meeting, and it started to decode the recording or whatever. And it did something where it popped up with another menu and it didn't let me click it. And suddenly it was gone and there was no recording, and there never was. I even reached out to Zoom, nothing. So I lost an amazing conversation that I had with an incredible thinker, and it's gone forever. And it hurt like hell for a day. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
But think of all the conversations we've all had that we never recorded with our friends. And we always thought, man, it would be good to, I don't remember what we said, but that was we really got somewhere in that talk. You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of what got us started with the podcast. Me and Puddz would just be on like a Friday night, just playing darts in my kitchen, drinking beer and having a good time, and just have an amazing conversation. And by the end of it, we're going home, going to sleep or whatever. I'm like, man, that was the podcast. Like that right there was the podcast. We should have. And that's kind of what got us inspired to just make it happen. Because like you said, those conversations, it's like, we're in an age now where like we can just record it and put it out there. And even if it's just for us, even if we get to just go back and revisit it, like it's powerful. Like people don't realize how powerful like our words are and our thoughts and our voices. Cause we just watch the influencers and the big names, and yeah, that's cool too. But like everyone has a voice, and like, I think everybody should do something, you know what I mean? And it's hard to put yourself out there. Don't get like, even now I think I'm like, fuck, what if my work sees this, or fuck, what if like my grandma finds this, or like, what, you know what I mean? Did I say something wrong or what? But it's like, you know what, fuck it. You just got to do, have no fear, man. Cause they, the colloquial, they like want you to be afraid to say stuff, and you just can't. You got to just fucking put it out there, man. Like, look at OnlyFans. You think all those girls a year ago would be, showing their pussies everywhere? I don't think so. They said, fuck it, let's make some real motherfucking money. And they did it,
Dude, I totally would. If I had a coochie and some titties, I'd be rich as fuck.
You got some titties on you, but I don't know about that.
They're
coochie.
not the proper kind, though. These are bitch tits.
Bitch tits.
But then, oh man, not to take it into negative, but holy shit, I just thought about OnlyFans and like thinking, man, I wonder how many on there aren't on there of their own free will,
Dude, I mean, I think that's a big issue with like Pornhub and
porn
stuff.
in general.
Yeah. It's like, sure. Yeah. It makes you think like, I'm sure some girls are there just because they feel like they have no other options, but I'm sure a lot are there because they have no choice. Like they are not in control of them, of their bodies. Like some, they are manipulated, trafficked, exploited. And it's like, damn, it makes you, and like, it's so hard because that's such a, it's such a pervasive part, especially for dudes, you know what I mean? Like growing up and, that was like the big thing. Like, let me sneak on the computer or whatever. But like, you don't think about it, sometimes I'm like, fuck, man, like this girl looks a little too young to be doing this, or like, she does not look like she's having fun, that kind of thing. It's like, fuck, man, it makes you kind of feel bad, but our fucking lizard brains with our urges, it's like, dude, men are disgusting. I mean, disgusting human beings, and sometimes you don't think about that kind of stuff, but
dude, it's hard to resist.
I'm married, so I mean, women are equally as disgusting and beautiful at the same time. You know what I mean?
Hey,
humans are gross. We're just, it's like Mr. Smith or Agent Smith. You're a virus. We're just or as Bill Hicks said, we're a virus with shoes.
Oh, dude, it's yeah, fucking, going back to like the Matrix and the simulation, it's like, why should we see ourselves as that, but also I think there's a beauty to that, we're something special, and we've been conditioned to not, we've been conditioned to not see ourselves as special, but really like the fact that we can think about ourselves in that way kind of makes us special, like my dog doesn't like, question his existence every morning when he wakes up, and he doesn't want to like shoot himself before he goes to work, or like, fall in love and like have a family. Like the dog's just like a dog.
I feel like evolution downplays how special we are because they're like, oh, we came from whatever.
Yeah, a monkey, a fish fucked a monkey
into something and a monkey, and then
it's like on the South
Park. There's a missing link, but there's a fucking missing link for a reason,
right?
Because we didn't come from that shit. That's not how we.
Well, it's like on that South Park episode where Miss Garrison like is forced to teach evolution, And she's like, so retarded fish crawled out of the water and fucked another retarded fish, and it came up with a retarded monkey. So, and like she just goes through and she's like, you're all a bunch of retard monkeys.
Yeah,
You know,
fuck
like,
you. Get out of here. You're all fail.
like this is what evolution teaches. And it's
yeah,
it's those things like, yeah. I mean, I think there's some validity in some of it because you can kind of see things happen like on a small scale with like bacteria. You know, like you can see it evolve like in real time. But like I'm with
it's the
you, man.
mimicry again. It's that mimicry. So yeah, it's a natural, real thing, but then they do something with it that is maybe unnatural and place it in a story from our past that actually maybe it doesn't belong there in the way that it's there. Because I would say evolution is a physical representation or like a personification of the lotus flower, the flower of life from Hinduism and Buddhism. It's this ever unfoldingness. And that's another thing from psychedelics that I got, was that like this plot that we're all after to uncover politically, religiously, historically, whatever, doesn't it seem to be ever unfolding? 2 years ago, Tartaria comes out of friggin' nowhere and people start talking about it. I mean, sure, there was a few others probably before that, but all these things start picking up and gaining speed all of a sudden. And it represents that constant unfolding.
Like that Russian doll, like you peel one off, one underneath it, and you got to just keep going and going and going and going.
It's an onion.
Like, the onion, like Casey says that you got to peel back those fucking layers of the onion. Or like Shrek, you know, like there's so much more than what's on the outside. And it's like going to the colloquial rabbit hole, like you just keep going and going and going and going. Yeah. And the more you know, or the more you learn, the more questions you're left with, the more you realize you know nothing. Like,
yes.
Who is the famous guy who said like, you know, I know the ultimate wisdom is knowing you know nothing. Kind of thing.
Sure
like
who said
I don't know
first,
I think it was
so
like
many.
Buddha or something like that. But it's like
sounds about right.
Yeah, and there's nobility and honor and truth in the quest. You know, it's like it's not about where you end up. It's like the journey. And I know that's fucking cliche, but it's true, man. Because you'll never get to the answers. And if once you think you have the answer,
there's so much
you're
more
you're dead. You know what I mean?
You ever see the movie? You guys ever see that movie Shooter with Mark Wahlberg?
Yes. Oh, dude, we were just talking about that the other day. It's a great
synchronicity. Do you remember the scene with the old dude, the old redneck, where he's like talking about JFK and shit?
Yeah.
He's like, what is it? Mark Wahlberg's like, what, you know that for a fact? He's like, still got the shovel. But like at some point he's like, just as soon as you think you got it figured, you're wrong. And it's always like that. Like we always turn a corner thinking we're going to expose them for something or something's going to get done, but it's always right around the corner from us. It's like the yin yang, where like the fish is chasing its own tail over and over again. Yeah. It's crazy. It's weird.
Well, and you never get to it, you know,
never get to the thing.
And that's interesting what you said, like something's going to be done. It's like, trust the plan, you know. And I think New York Patriot, he just posted a meme on Instagram that made me crack up, and it was like two like Q guys with like Trump hats on, and they were like in the gulag, and they were like, yeah, trust the plan, man, like any day now. And it's like they're already in the gulag, like their life's over, you know what I mean? But they're still like, yeah, keep going. And it's like that's true with anything, man. Like with life, with politics, and it's backwards, dude. It's fucking backwards, and it's terrifying, but it's fun, and it's
a fun house mirror filled with horrors.
Yeah, it's like when you're looking in the mirror and it's just never ending. Like you just like, holy fuck, how can I touch the one in the back there? Like, no, you'll never get to it, dude. It's always like, it's like whenever you get like really stoned or something, and you feel like the world is moving past you as you're walking, but then you're not moving at all. You know, you're like, things are getting farther. It's like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck?
So, hey, before we go too much further, why don't you guys tell my audience how you guys got started into this? Because we really kind of skipped right over your background, and I really want my audience to get to know you better too.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of sort of said it, so we
talked about how we like got started, like, you know, just getting drunk and
that's true. Yeah.
But
that's
like,
true. What are your major influences? Like, where did you guys come into this kind of thinking together?
So interesting enough, like I've kind of always been this way. Like my dad is a crazy person and I love him. But
That's
like
awesome.
my young age, he was always telling me like, there's like about aliens and like the world isn't really how you think it is. And he got me into all this kind of stuff. And I kind of like resented that thinking for a while just because of the nature of my relationship with my father. But, I've kind of come back around, more in the last 4, 5, 6 years. And so for me, what it was 2016 election night. I was in a liberal arts school and theater with all my like gay and non-binary friends, like all having a great time and singing and dancing, but we're watching the election play out the night of, and it becomes clear that Trump was going to win, and like all these people just like start bawling their eyes out and crying and freaking out, like the next day they're going to be lined up and shot by a firing squad. And like just seeing that, like how real that was for them, kind of made me, because I was all about it with him. Like I was like, but when it happened, I was like, okay, the world's still here, like we're all still standing. So it kind of made me think like, okay, something is not right here. Like whatever the narrative is not what it actually is. And so that made me just go fucking deep, and we can get into that later. But like, with Puddz here, like we became friends, through my girlfriend. Him and her are really good friends, and I kind of stole him from her.
Nice.
And her from him, so they're both, I keep them separate now. And like, but
in their own rooms and stuff.
yeah, but I would talk to him about this kind of stuff, and he'd be like, oh, I know, because he just was never like exposed to that. And so kind of,
I mean, there were things that were obvious that I would question, but like not near on the level that I do now.
Yeah. Like it's kind of, this podcast was it was my job to kind of like get good guests on to like convince him about certain things. And it's kind of been fun to watch him like change how he thinks and how he sees the world. And then sometimes now he'll, like, I used to always send him shit, like, hey, check this out, look at this. And now he's sending me stuff like, bro, did you see this? Like, look at this alien shit that I found. And it makes me so proud. Like,
and the other day, like how we were talking about Shooter, and this is far-fetched, but I just had this idea of like, Shooter, they assassinate somebody and frame a guy.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that is a modern day representation of what happened with JFK. Like they hired this guy that was ex-military, but kind of like not really
like
already trouble.
Yeah. Like he's separated from, all of that shit. He doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. And they hire him back to like, how would you do this? And then they end up doing it and then framing him. And I feel like that's exactly what happened with
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald.
And that's one theory, man. There's so many, but yeah, that's kind of how it's gone. It's like I'm dragging him with me on this journey, and now he's starting to swim on his own. Like, take the floaties off. Let's fucking go deep, man. And it's been a lot of fun, and even myself, where I'm learning so much more than I ever thought, because the more I do this, like I said, it just, you keep going and going and going, and you hear new perspectives. And I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, the information's here. Now I want to like hear people, what they think. I know what I think, but let's hear what other people think about the same information. What are your thoughts? How do you see the world? Or is it flat, or is it round? And just like, what do you think? And I think that's almost more important too, is like getting to the individual. Like, what can you bring to the table? Because everyone has something different, and I want to hear it all.
Yeah, everybody's got a puzzle piece, and we need that synergy. We need to build this puzzle. It's really creepy. So you guys mentioned JFK. So I happen to have a very special book right here. It's called King Kill 33 by James Shelby Downard, with Michael A. Hoffman II helping out.
Okay.
Now that book describes the beginning parts of a very, very creepy initiation and ritual process from a magical standpoint, from what these authors claim to be Masonic sorcery. But now I'm so, the Mason thing is so convoluted, so I don't even want to go down there. But this idea that they have, and now I'm forgetting why I brought this up. But
JFK.
Well, yeah, JFK specifically, like the theory basically is that this was a ritual to build us up really, really big, to give us this hero on a platform, and then completely remove him in a public setting in this absolutely horrific way. And you guys seem close to my age. Like, my parents told me that everybody was in the streets holding each other and crying. The whole world came to a stop, at least from my parents' perspective.
Yeah.
And that was the assassination. That was the killing of the king. And this book is insane, and you can't get it in many places, but I recommend seeking it out. He goes
Almost
into this.
It's like a ritual, like an occult ritual to
like
suck our
induction.
energy. Yeah.
And this aspect that's happening now, and actually Hoffman just came out with this book, Twilight Language, which is a sequel to his 2001 book, Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. These books reveal something that I feel, and from what I'm gathering, when I ask and I look around, not a lot of people tend to really have looked far into revelation of the method. But when you do, it's very creepy, because it kind of puts us in a position where all the exposure that we do is exactly what they want. And it's actually not secrecy that they want. And we're in, like, I would say the Bible describes this process, which is revelation. And it's kind of a revealing of the plan. So this is where I was coming from. I'm sorry. This is why I got confused. I forgot where I was coming from originally. The puzzle. So you know that puzzle, or that story about a puzzle that this old woman is building in her living room or whatever, and it's stormy outside and she's all by herself. And the further into the puzzle she goes, she realizes that she's building the room that she's in, and she's building herself into the puzzle. And the last piece finally goes in, and it's this horrible face in the window. It's like, once you've built the puzzle, it's already too late. And that's kind of what revelation of the method is supposed to be about. This sick, masturbatory arrogance of us, of them bathing themselves in our knowing what they've done to us, and what we've done to ourselves because of their amazing trickery. It's really fucked up and dark and creepy as hell.
I got fucking goosebumps. Like, that's because that's kind of what it goes back to. Like, at the end of the day, you're like, they don't give a shit. Like, the powers that be, like, they are proud of this, you know? Like,
oh yeah,
they love what's happening, and they love that we know that's like that. Some of us know, and that the rest just fucking go along with it. You know, it's like
mimicry for most, mockery for some of us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's mockery. It's them sticking their tongues out at us and then turning around and pretending to be nice to everybody else.
Yeah. Well, and you see it, like, we're seeing it now. Like, you look at even like a politician, I guess, like, they'll be on a news conference with like a hot mic and the camera before they actually go live, and they're like, oh, we should put our masks on, you know, because we're like, it's political theater. Ha 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 ha. Right, and then they put the mask, and then they're like, all,
no, oh shit, you guys froze up.
Have to walk down. Oh, you
there?
there
You are. You're back.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So what
the Matrix is trying to destroy us, gentlemen.
Or just my shitty internet. Well, it's talking about, speaking of synchronicity, on the last podcast I was on, I was having internet issues. And then just now, but while I was on the last podcast, the fucking internet sales guy from a competing company knocked on my door, and my girlfriend signed us up for new internet. And I'm like,
holy crap.
He sold her on it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we're getting new internet tomorrow. Maybe a good thing. But yeah.
Yes, our interruptions worked. He signed up for our new plan.
Dude, that's where my fucking head goes.
I'm not answering that.
That's where my head goes, man.
Did you ask her if he glitched out a couple times?
Well, she showed me his business card. I'm like, oh, he's good.
As soon as he opened the door.
Yeah, he was an attractive man.
Oh, God damn it. It happened
it's
again.
It's like fucking... Oh, my God.
Something's popping. It's Zoom.
It's like what your dad says, you know, selling roofs, you know, like.
Yeah, if you know if it's an old lady, you go in with a tight shirt, and if it's a dude, you go in polo dressed up. Let me try this one more time. God damn it! As soon as we get on a flow, man, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's the Matrix.
Let's try this. You know, unplug, replug. You know, have you tried?
Hey, it always works that way.
It really does. There we go. God damn, dude. What the hell?
All right.
What
Oh,
the
except,
hell?
except I can hear myself.
Oh, yep, I got it. It's Zoom. There we go.
You know what's funny? Just real quick, I hope. Oh man, I shouldn't interrupt us because we were in a good flow. But just a shout out to a podcast I love called Blurry Photos. They were one of the first podcasts I ever listened to, all about paranormal stuff, and they would torture each other if a listener wrote in and called them out on something that they got totally wrong. They would have to go into what was called the penalty box, and you literally had to go in with monitors on and like say an entire song's worth of lyrics or something like that, or something really difficult to say while hearing yourself delayed the whole time, and it would come out like they sounded drunk as hell the whole time.
Oh,
Dude,
God.
Priceless.
There was an app exactly that. It came out in college and we used to just screw with it for fun. Like you would put headphones in and you would just talk and it would play your shit back late and you
fuck you up.
Yeah, you have to like
focus, like tune it out.
dude. Yeah, you have to tune it out or you cannot speak.
So what we're gonna have to do is, I mean, I'll have a clean audio file on this, but you'll just have to send us the video if that's okay, because it's
Sure.
clear.
Yeah, I got the whole thing, and
Cool.
it'll be easy if you want to like cut out some crappy parts that were just like, what's going on?
No, see, that's what I feel like makes it authentic. You know what I mean?
We don't edit.
Sure.
We just put it out
At the
there.
beginning of our podcast, like we'd have people on, or we would incriminate ourselves, or just like give people's just like stupid shit like that, like your mother's maiden name and the last 4 digits of your social on the pod, and I'd have to edit that shit out. But I'm like, dude, I can't. We just gotta know what we can't say and then go from there.
Yeah, well, aside from those episodes were like bullshit anyway. We were figuring it out, having fun. You know, like,
I was lucky. I had like a trial run. I had a trial run with a friend like a year earlier where we kind of tried to start a podcast, but we were in different places and it just didn't work out. But like I kind of got a little bit of the jitters out of the way. I kind of got used to being behind a mic for a few episodes, but that was it. It was just a few episodes. But this is different. This is much nicer. I have a community.
I reserve the right to like change the podcast at any time. Like if I'm like, fuck it, it's not working, rebrand everything. Just like, because why not? You can, you know what I mean? You don't you're not married to it,
Yeah, we don't owe anybody anything. This is our
little adventure.
Yeah.
I agree, man. And this is only the beginning, I think. Like I don't want to just do a podcast. I mean, shit, we've found a community. People are already utilizing it to like put festivals together and stuff like that. Shout out to Truthzilla. They did one out in Oregon and it was awesome. Well, I didn't get to go, but it looked awesome,
Yeah.
And more people are thinking about doing stuff like that. Yeah.
Like the no agenda meetups, where the fans get together and share good times, you know what I mean, where it's all, you can all just no triggering. And I think it's important. I'd love to do something like that. Like I want to get a big Discord going on, so like all our fans can get together and we can drop in and like because you can do podcasts right from Discord. There's so much you can do, and it sucks that we're all so far away. That we I hope one day we'll all be able to get together and have a beer. Like
sure.
I want to.
Where are you located?
I'm over on the East Coast in Massachusetts currently.
Okay.
I'm trying to move north eventually.
Like New
Not
Hampshire.
too far north. Yeah, New Hampshire region, because we don't want to go too far north because we're also gardeners. We're, doing the whole growing our own food thing, and we want lots of land. That's what my goal is. I want land. I want to be able to grow as much as I want.
That's important, dude.
Yeah.
We've gotten away from that as a society. Absolutely.
Well, they pushed us away from it, and
it's like the grocery
now-
store thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
You need a nice lawn, not a garden. Like that's what everybody like.
Yeah.
America. What? Shit. That
tinfoil hat podcast. They were talking about like there's more
70 million acres of lawn or some shit.
There's
like
more
that.
lawn than there is farmland. Like there's more like acreage of like front yards than there is of like farmland, and it's like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You could utilize that.
Yeah, and if we did, there would be no hunger issues anyway.
Yeah.
It makes sense too, because in the same way there's like football, baseball, hockey, basketball everywhere, these super competitive sports, you don't really see like cooperative frisbee anywhere. You know what I mean? Like nothing good. It's always overshadowed by the shit.
Yeah.
But professional disc golf is making its way, man.
So
That's
is
awesome.
So is cornhole, dude. That shit's
Oh
getting
yeah,
hot.
cornhole and professional disc golf is getting big quick.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
It's
What about
impressive.
Can Jam? Have you guys ever seen
fuck is
Can
that?
Jam? Dude,
Nah.
you will love it. You need to buy Can Jam. It's like $20 at a Walmart or a Costco. And basically, it's 2 barrels with slits in the front, big enough for frisbees. And you have these rules where you go back and forth with other teammates and shit. And you try to like get it in the freaking barrel. And it sounds silly, but it's fucking amazing.
Well, dude, it's Beersby. Have you ever played Beersby?
No, but we do play beer in hand with Can Jam quite often. Makes
Yeah,
it
I mean
better.
that's how you have to play Beersby too. So there's 2 posts on either side, and it's a team of 2. You're on either side, and the goal is you throw, and there's a beer bottle on top of the post. So
Yeah, I have
if you
played
hit
that.
the bottle off, it's like 3 points. But if you catch the bottle and catch the frisbee, it cancels out.
Huh.
Or if you like just catch the frisbee, that's 1 point less, so they only get 2 points or whatever. But you have to play with a beer in hand, so you only have one hand to like catch things. So
okay.
one player has to catch the beer bottle while one's trying to catch the frisbee, and
that sounds like a mess.
It's
Yeah.
super fun though, especially when you get. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, kind of getting back to like that revelation of the method, and
Yeah,
I think like this past year, think about how many quote unquote normies have kind of become aware of the fucking lies and the bullshit that we're succumbed to. I mean,
Right.
and like we said, these people are laughing at us. Like they know that we know it's all bullshit, yet people listen anyway and still do what they're gonna do. And like, what are your thoughts on that? Like with this past year,
Yeah.
I mean, with everything, not just the pandemic or I mean, everything that we've seen come to light.
I think my newest questions are: is revelation of method, does it even encapsulate us? Or is that something that we will be standing there the whole time aware of and able to possibly get ahead of and do something about? I don't know. It feels to me like even us, the best diggers in the business, you know what I mean? We're all digging for the truth. I think all of us are going to, unfortunately, eventually get to a point where we succumb to it at some point. I don't know how it works, but this past year has been so much proof of revelation of method. Because look, conspiracy podcasts, certain ones are like within the top 50 podcasts in America week after week. Like there was Rogan years ago before anyone even had a glimmer of thought that like, oh, he's controlled opposition or something. Like, no, like just he was a comedian questioning everything. He was number 1 pretty fast. You know what I mean? It was crazy. But like that's happening in our community too. Like people are getting a lot of crazy numbers from a lot of, so it's like it's a huge demographic suddenly. And sure, we can say that on one level, the Trump situation escalated one part of society in that measure. But then there's other routes that you can take that, like, you know, people that are into the ancient alien shows and new age stuff and Gaia and all that, like they've been talking about this age of Aquarius and how the dates are all screwed up and 2012 was this, blah, blah. So it's in every arena that any of us like to look into, it's being revealed. It's all coming out.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly where my friend and I were talking about this. I can't remember where he had it sourced, but it was like something about the Rosicrucians, something about every 88 years, the book is open, like as a metaphor. I remember us talking about that being in a book somewhere as regarded for society, like a cycle in some way where there's an opening where it's all revealed. I don't know exactly anything about it.
I mean, I could see that.
Yeah, I just don't know what to make of where this is going, because while most of us are looking at certain things coming out into our community and we're able to share it with everybody, like you know, videos of doctors saying things like that, we're like, oh my God, this is great proof, this is this is that, and we're sending it off. As we do that, with this in the back of my head, I'm always like, what exactly are we doing? And what are we a part of here? Like, where is this taking us? I don't know. Why is this becoming so easy to do? And I know that might be a little pessimistic, but when you attach it to quite a bit of literature with a lot of source material, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, even like Bill Cooper, like Behold the Pale Horse,
dude.
Like
that's here too.
He even says like he even says a lot of the things in this book, I have to warn you, might have been given to me to be put out by the powers that be. And whether they're true or not, I can't determine because it's so sketchy. Like he's like, I just don't know. But a lot of what he said has come to, I mean, he wrote that book in the 90s. I mean, a lot of that stuff has happened.
Did you hear that recording of him in July of 2001?
No.
About he's like, you bet your ass there's going to be an attack. There's going to be something coming to the United States, and you watch who they blame. Look at who they blame. You watch that. They'll blame it on someone like bin Laden. It was pretty incredible. And in November of that year, he was dead on his lawn because he shot first when the FBI, I don't know, showed up to play chess or something.
Yeah. I mean, well, people that happens all the time, and they're just labeled as nut job crazy people. And to kind of go off what you were saying, like, why is it so easy? You know, like maybe they're just identifying who goes in the camps first, you know? But from another perspective, back to like the esoteric, the occult kind of thing, I've questioned this myself, you know, like why is this, you know, there's like the sheeple and then there's the free thinkers, and like, why are we growing? Why is it so easy? And, you know, why are they letting us do this? And I've asked people that we've had on the show before, and they said, well, because they don't respect the sheeple, you know, the people who just go along with it. They consider them fodder, you know, but they respect us, you know, at least that we know and we're aware, you know, and maybe
we are Adamu.
It's like a knight, you know, fighting another knight, you know, like he might not cut his head off because he's like, you fought well, you know what I mean? Like, I respect you, go on your way. And that's one way to look at it, but it's kind of far-fetched, you know, like, wouldn't they just want to, like with the vaccine, right? The quote unquote, you know, there's a code word people use for it, so it doesn't get ripped off of YouTube or whatever by the algorithms. But it's like, why would they give the like, why would they want the dumb people and stuff to take the hold on, what am I trying to say here?
Why would they kill the people that don't pose a threat?
Yeah, exactly. Why, if the vaccine is truly like what we think it might be, like a depopulation kind of thing, why would they do that to the people who are obedient and going along with it?
Yeah.
Because like, what if the vaccine really does like save everybody, and everyone who doesn't take it's fucked, you know? Like, then they release the real thing, and everyone who doesn't have it is dead. Like, that would make sense. But then it's like goes back to that respect thing. Like, you know, fuck the, you know, we don't need them. They're dumb. At least y'all are smart enough to know what's going on, and we can work with you, kind of thing. But I don't know.
Well,
that's just my, you know,
it's written in there too. What you're saying has kind of been the respect thing is maybe it's 6,000 or 8,000 year old predictive programming, or maybe it's just you know, I don't know, but Sumer, or maybe it's Babylon. I get some of the stories and characters confused, but I believe it's the Tale of Adapa, where it talks about the first man, you know, Adam or Adamu or whatever. And it's the story of Enlil and Enki. Are you familiar with these characters?
Yeah, like it kind of goes back to the Anunnaki.
Right. You know, yes, it does. And then you can take that and run with it and towards Jesus and a lot of different things. But the idea of Enki being this character, also related to a serpent, also revealing our true nature to us in this story. And the reason why his quote unquote brother, Enlil, the warring, commanding, like control freak, this totalitarian metaphor, I guess I would say at this point, the problem with us knowing our true nature is that in the text themselves, on the cuneiform tablets, they translate that this Adamu was more powerful than the Anunnaki, was the most powerful ever created. And now it's talking about it in a singular way, but it's talking about us. Right. As a whole. And I think it's this idea, because also in the cuneiform, they allude to the shiny ones, the light beings or whatever. So perhaps this is in a way like traits that relate to a spiritual nature, but also other traits that relate to physical matter. Because in those stories, the Anunnaki work was too hard. That's why they had to create us. In this physical world, everything was too difficult because they're pussies, right? I don't know. It's so convoluted because I've also heard they were great. I heard they were great, beautiful, amazing, intelligent people, maybe not even aliens or anything like that. I don't know. The story goes in 17 billion different directions, and it's hard to keep track of it all.
It's almost like, we are more like if we know our true nature, maybe we might destroy ourselves or destroy everything, if we truly realize how powerful or special we are. Like, and maybe it's like the powers that be, or they, or whoever, like they're scared that if we come to that realization that we're it's like that A Bug's Life movie where the grasshopper, like, if these ants realize they outnumber us 100 to 1, our whole game is over. It's the fear. We have to get them with the fear.
It's put everywhere. Movies telling us, TV telling us, video games telling us. We haven't even gotten into video games yet, but I know we wanted to.
Dude. So, hey, can you tell me about that game you were telling me about, Earth 2?
Dude,
I've never heard of it.
All right, so I'll give you like a very brief overview, but I recommend people go check out Big Fry TV on YouTube and watch some of his videos, because he's exposing what he does often on his channel, which is exposing game devs that are in it to make a quick buck and put out absolute garbage early access games on Steam. And after 6 months, 8 months, they bait and switch. And he is very good at going through some of these games and going, oh, look, all these assets are just flipped from other games, or this, he really picks them apart sometimes. This Earth 2 thing that he picks apart is very interesting, in my opinion, because it alludes to much bigger things in our realm, in our community. So it's almost like this weird colliding of video games and conspiracy theory for me, because Earth 2 is this new game that he's completely convinced is a fraud. And he's spoken to devs from that game and everything. It's very heated. It's very YouTube,
YouTube drama kind of thing.
It's very video game craziness, but his channel's great. I like, he does a lot of good stuff, but it's this game that's going to completely digitally mimic Earth in real time, procedurally, as you go through this whole video game. It's a video game where you can literally do anything, as in it's Second Life, basically, right?
Right.
But it's the Second Life that every video game person that has loved video games has probably always thought about. Like, wouldn't that be the best? And then you could do it with VR. Oh my God, that would be the greatest. Well, I'm looking at this whole story and I'm like, okay, this technology is insane. They're not going to be able to put it out, and not because the technology is not there. It's like Big Fry goes into like a lot of the economic reasons why it would be ridiculous to do so for video games, specifically for video game players. Even though as big as the industry as it is, these other reasons just completely hold it back. Hardware, for instance, the idea that we all have like RTX 3080s in our rigs, you know what I mean? That we're going to be able to handle all that. It's ridiculous. So he goes into a lot of that, why it would be completely unfeasible, that they're going to put out some fake bullshit regurgitated version of what they're claiming, but it's not going to be anything to what it is. What creeps me out is when you think about this idea that they can do this technology, while people like Alison McDowell, if you're familiar with her, she's a researcher from Philadelphia, and she goes into a lot of the nanotechnology and the graphene that's going into, I believe it's in the vaccines or something.
I've heard a lot about graphene.
Yeah. And so she talks a lot about digital twins and this Internet of Things, and how basically everything is going to be digitized to the point of like your heart rate, your personality, the things you like, the places you go. There's going to be this digital mirror to everything. And to me, when you see some of the footage, it's legit like really decent, hyper realistic kind of video game graphics in what they have. They are showing on loop. Big Fry is the only footage that they've ever released for this game in like 9 months with so much funding. And it's like 2 minutes of an asset car going in a landscape, and that's pretty much it, and some overviews, but that's it. So he's picking up on it as a video game fraudulent activity, where
like a front for something else.
I'm going towards the front angle, where it's more like, it's not just to get money, it's not a scheme. It could be, but even the people that know it's a money scheme don't know that it's a front for this bigger, more important technology.
Like a DARPA project kind of thing. Like,
they're selling meter by meter squares in this fictional friggin' digital earth right now. And fans are buying shit up like crazy. There's no video game. There's no video game.
Game's not even out yet.
There's no release date. There's no beta. There's no alpha. There's no early access. There's nothing.
So it's almost
there might be an early access, but that early access is driving that fucking asset car around.
So it's almost like buying your way into the simulation before we enter the simulation.
It's in a way. It's building that friggin'
because we had a guy
with the faces in the window.
Oh God, we had a guy on Elo who's a digital NFT artist, and he kind of like he had a oh, there we go again. I'll keep talking while I try to figure this out. But basically, Elo explained how, like, in this I don't know what the name of the VR world was, but it was basically like
I have it on my laptop.
We went to an art show of his in this VR space, and like he showed, like, you could walk around and look at his art like a museum.
He had like a museum,
and people are buying like fucking like acreage and things to like build their digital houses on and things like that. And I can see like why that's cool and appealing, but when does it go too far? I guess the first real digital employee was hired, like they needed someone to run this coffee shop in VR, like actually have an employee that paid them real money to like be in the game and serve people coffee. And it's like, okay, when does this stop?
Holy
when
shit, dudes. Guys, what if this new Matrix that's coming out is like the prequel where it shows humanity willfully getting into the pods?
Oh God, dude. That's
There's
the
a
thing.
new Matrix coming?
Oh,
yeah, as ridiculous as that is. Yeah, literally. With
I've not heard about
Keanu and Trinity's there. Everybody. Oh yeah.
Dude, I mean, think like they said, you'll own in 20 you'll own nothing and be happy, and you'll live in your little pod with your cheeseburger injection IV going right into your butthole, and you'd be feeling good.
Yeah,
Wall-E?
You took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was about to say.
My son loves that movie. I love that movie. And I'm just like, oh shit, look at that like old technology that was like manageable, and you would fix it up and get a lot of years out of it, was Wall-E. And then this ghostly futuristic, hi Wall-E. She's the future, even though she was portrayed as like a good guy, of course, but
right.
I don't know. I see the symbolism there.
Well,
yeah,
and
just you don't pay attention to your surroundings anymore. You're stuck in your simulation.
Dude, I fucking was texting walking into work the other day.
So you're in this fucking chair riding around everywhere and just doing whatever you are on your screen. You don't give a fuck about whoever.
Yeah, and those are the people who get robbed all the time because they're not paying attention. But like earlier, like the other day, I was walking into work and I was sending a text message, and like I fucking hit a low branch on a tree and like fucking fell over, hit my head, knocked my hat off, and I was like, I'm a dumbass, dude. I just ran into a tree. Like, I know it's there. I walk by it every day.
Yeah.
But like another video game, kind of, it's a little different than what you were talking about. But
yeah, let's stick with video games.
yeah, like Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
When that game first came out, I thought it was just like a medieval Assassin's game. You're just going around killing people. But then so in the game, you're like in a simulation basically, and then you come out, and they use your like ancestral DNA to like get the information from history.
Yeah.
Right. So when you come out of it in the game, you're like in the modern day, and like you're in this technology, and you're like, there's people, the assassins and the Templars are still around fighting over this information. Right. And I didn't realize that playing the game the first time, but then recently they released like the 6-pack, like the Altair bundle with,
saw
with,
that.
like Black Flag and all that. So I just finished playing Black Flag, and it's the same thing. It's like they're doing a Pirates of the Caribbean, like a VR kind of like theme park, and they need you to go back because you're related to this guy to get the information to tell the story and like in the experiences.
Yeah.
But and I haven't even finished all the games, but like Origins and the Odyssey, like it's like the foundations of society, like all of it goes back to like this ancient race before man that left this technology here. And I'm like, this is so deep for a fucking Assassin's game, where you're just killing people. It's like, what is this trying to tell us? Because you hear, bits and pieces in like modern science now about like your DNA remembers things. It's like, I was talking to that guy last night, Jeff. He's like, this bobcat that's supposed to be in the wild, like we're rehabilitating it, and it knows how to kill things, and it's never been taught. It's like in its DNA. And I'm like, well, how much of that is in us? Not only as creatures, but even like as humans with consciousness and experiences, like from our ancestors, like that whole 23andMe thing. Like, what was all that about? It wasn't to figure out what you are. It was to fucking figure out what'll make you tick. You know what I mean? And it's going to be like,
ancestors are.
It's going to go back to like what you said, like it'll be tailored to you. Like as you do something, it'll like an ad. So like, there's the non-nefarious part of this. Like really, they just want to sell you shit, which like I believe, but I think there's something deeper. You know what I mean? They don't want to just,
that's
it's
the
like,
problem. It's the front is a completely legitimate business. You know what I mean? In general, like this front that they're giving us.
Yeah.
My friend, a good friend of mine, Eric Stone, that's been on the show a bunch of times. He loves this shit. And I kind of do too. Like, it's weird. I love technology, and I grew up absolutely loving the idea. Like that movie, The Cell, with Jennifer Lopez and Vince Vaughn, D'Onofrio, where like she gets into like the full haptic suit and then gets into like the matrix basically of the other person's mind. Like the idea of some future where you could do that with video games. I love that because it like has no consequence on the real world. It does not replace the real world. And I think a lot of people, they're not aware of how much of that is really planned and coming down the pipeline. And they're like, well, we just won't buy into that part of it. It's like, well, a year ago, there was things that are happening now that you acted the same way about. Like, well, that's not going to happen. Or, well, we'll just stand against that part of it. Yeah. It's all the same people. It's all the same machine. It's head in the same direction.
And it's like, how do we stop this fucking train? Like, do we hop on board and hope we can
wrench in the spokes,
stop it from within? Or do you try to get in front of the train and stop? I mean, like either way, it's going to to be hard and you're going to get fucked, And it's
sometimes it makes me wonder if oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bud.
No, I was just gonna say, he was just joking, throw a wrench in the spokes, but you kind of have to avoid the fucking train while trying to take it down. Like that's a very accurate.
Like, it's like, how do you
can't get on it and you don't want to get in front of it because you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
So you have to avoid it while
it's almost like you got to grab the back of it and like dig your heels in like Spider-Man and try to fucking stop the train, And it's like, do I save the bus full of kids or fucking Mary Jane? It's like, what do you, it's because we're all the own heroes of our own story. We've, Jordan Peterson touts that a lot. It's like, but we're all in this same story almost with as far as like the world goes. And it's like, how do you handle it? And what do you do? So what were you going to say about Revelation?
Oh, I don't remember so many things. I honestly can't remember how I was gonna what I was gonna say about Revelation of the Method at that moment. It could come back around.
Sure.
But just to stick with video games, have you guys played Destiny 2?
Yeah, I played it because it came out free a few years ago on Xbox. I played it. I wasn't a fan, but I didn't like play it enough to like figure out what it was about. It's kind of like a Halo style game to me.
A little
bit. Am I wrong?
It was made by
that?
Bungie as well, so I mean, the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
I never played them, but my college roommate was obsessed with the first one. He played all the time.
I have a very good friend of mine and a Freemason who's obsessed, just loved Destiny and loved Destiny 2. And what made him more in love with it was all the symbolism in it. And he told me this story about how this guy Jason Harris was the main writer of the whole story, and I think he quit, and then they changed a lot of the key points, like where the character directs his attention to certain things, or away from, they at least misdirected if they didn't flat out remove or change, because that whole story is definitely talking about like this Rosicrucian stuff, this mystic wisdom that's being passed along, and hands trading it back and forth, and it falling into wrong hands. And it's very interesting how they weave it in there. You know what I mean?
So you said your friend is a Freemason. So does that make you controlled opposition, my friend? Are you
Right. My grandfather was as well.
Really?
You know what I mean? And we have people in our community starting podcasts that were former members of occult, brotherhoods and
guys
stuff.
are fucking shout out.
Awesome.
Those guys
The
are the
thing
best.
is, they're awesome. And like for decades, we've read books by former Masons. It's like, and what my friend has taught me is that people don't realize how much is actually available and not secret. It's really like, from what I've heard, it's like the order of the order of how you say things and rituals, or certain more fraternal things are secret than the actual wisdom. And maybe that was forced on them at one point. Maybe, I don't know. It's weird because like a lot of information that I really hold dear, like this James Shelby character and Michael Hoffman and stuff, like these people talking about this stuff, putting it into Freemason terms, it's hard for me sometimes because I see a lot of good in Freemasonry itself. I really do. Yeah. And maybe that's just the front, but unfortunately it's not, because it's the wisdom itself that I've become aware of, that I'm aware that they are involved with. It's like, sorry, it's not evil. It ain't like, even when you talk about Lucifer, we're talking about metaphors. We're talking about lower energies, and some, it depends on who you're talking to,
Yeah. From people who like Freemasons that I've kind of interacted with, like, or the research that I've done, a lot of it was really like, secret building techniques. Like it was almost like a union of actual bricklayers who were like, we're not telling you how we built this building that's not falling down. Like, because that's like our livelihood. Like we have to be able to do this. You know what I mean? If you're going to run us out of business essentially. And so, but then like they hid certain things in the architecture and things like that, like our founding fathers were Freemasons, and I'm sure they actually built things, and there's knowledge in the architecture and in the but you're right. It's like what's behind it, and that kind of like, staying with video games, it's like we talked about Halo for just a second, but in Halo there's the orb, like that I don't even remember, the Oracle, right?
The
little
Oracle
guy who talks like funny, and he's like, oh, we built this place, we made you. And it's like, that's the underlying story. It's not just the humans versus the Covenant aliens. It's like they're all both searching for like where they came from, like what the answers are. And it's this ancient builder race that like created everything. And you see that in like the Alien movies and like Prometheus. And I mean, that's
one of my favorites.
Yeah. And I wish they had touched on it more, like done more with
Sir Ridley Scott, which is I love that man. I love his work.
Don't like the Queen though, it's like, oh, what do we do? But that stuff is everywhere. And after talking to the occult rejects, they said this sigil magic is everywhere, you just don't know how to look for it. And I was like, well, can you give an example? And he goes, do you have an iPhone? And I was like, yeah. He goes, look at the back of it, look at the logo, it's a bitten apple, the knowledge of good and evil. It's like, what the fuck? And he blew my mind. And I just see it everywhere now, in video games, in movies, in TV. And like I said,
Big Yellow M.
Oh, McDonald's, the arches.
And that shit is everywhere. That's a sigil right there.
Shit.
You know what I mean?
You know what it is? What the sigil is?
Well, no. So you're thinking of sigils too, in one way, like they have to be like the consonants of a phrase and thrown together. And that is under certain rules that people do that. Right. But then when you kind of expand out and you realize that people talk about magic to the extent where sometimes it's as powerful as just repeating affirmations to yourself. So, I mean, all these knickknacks and robes, and some of it depends on where you are personally. Maybe you don't need any of that shit. You know what I mean? It can be completely cut and dry. So when we think about this sigil idea, it's any symbol that you are using to promote yourself and push your reality into the collective reality? How much of you can you push into the world at large? And I think that's kind of a message that comes from a lot of this chaos magic, where like Grant Morrison, who wrote The Invisibles, we're talking about the Matrix. That's a big inspiration on the Wachowski brothers writing the Matrix, was the Invisible series, all about this hidden world. Except in the Invisibles, it's much more right on the nose. It's all about a hidden world of politicians and evil fucks and all that. But he talks about sigils as like us, like we are the sigil. You know what I mean? We push ourselves out there, and we've let them do that everywhere, and we wear it everywhere. Even I called an occultist out on Twitter a few months ago, a guy I really like. He was selling t-shirts with his name at the very top, because he's a really like a best-selling author, and underneath it said, "My will be done," because that's what he's into. That, and that's a famous saying, of course. But he's having his name right above it with that statement, "My will be done," with his name, and he's selling it to everybody. And I go, "Nice sigil." And he liked it. He's like, "I see you. I see you."
Yeah, you got me there, bud. Yeah. Well, and so I was talking about this earlier. It's like as much as you think like, oh, magic is bullshit. It's not like magic like shooting fucking like lightning bolt. It's like
you don't have a Patronus.
Yeah, it's like chaos. It's like order out of chaos, like creating chaos, or will, like asserting your will. It's like, even if you think all that's bullshit, the people that do it believe in it. You know what I mean? They believe in the divine powers of man and gods and demons and heaven and hell. So like, even if you think that's all bullshit, it doesn't matter. The ones doing it truly believe that kind of stuff. And it's like, you can either see it for what it is, or just let them do it to you. And it's like, I'd rather know than not. And that kind of goes back to the revelation of method. Like, I'd rather know I'm getting fucked than just like, it's like what my dad said. You don't just wake up with 12 inches of cock in your ass. Like, slowly over time, it just is a little bit and a little bit, more and more and more until you're fucked, then you're like, oh geez, I'd rather at least know what's happening so I can get a little bit of lube, maybe do some stretches and like
all
some
these metaphors.
I do.
It's all the same, it's the puzzle again.
It's the puzzle. Yeah. The cock puzzle. Yeah. You put the puzzle.
There's a big cock in your window.
Everything's done so slowly. And that's what creeps me out, because yes, there's a lot of amazing research done that proves all these family lineages and stuff like that, with politicians going way, 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 way back.
Yeah, aren't all the presidents related?
Yeah, and you go all the way back to the Merovingian kings and blue bloods, and you go back to Mesopotamia, all the way back to what we have sold to us in our history books, the only things that we have sold. So I don't know. It's like, there's that. But is it just that, or is part of this real, this idea that maybe, let's go way out there. What do you guys think of this idea that physical reality itself, this matrix idea, could be kind of legit? Maybe not even simulation, where it's like some future race programming us, where it's us programming us, where it's, once again, it's consciousness is at the center point. You know what I mean? And maybe they know about it. Why would they have this plan going for so long? Sorry, go ahead.
Still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
No, you're good. No, you froze up on us, so I wasn't sure. I can go along with that. It's like we are the universe experiencing itself. The universe or the consciousness. We are consciousness. In being, you know what I mean? And it's like that's like when they say reincarnation or past lives or whatever. It's like, you're just here and you're going round and round and round and round, because there's nothing better for, what else can you do, kind of thing. It's like, you can just be floating around in the ether, as a orb or a spirit and whatever. And you might fuck with the people down below, but it's like, you have to live it and experience it to understand it, and maybe that's why the answer's just right around the corner, because you really do know the answers, but you're not allowed to know it.
We're the answer, I think.
Yeah.
We're the punchline to the cosmic joke.
It's yeah. That's, dude. And I could, that's the thing. It could all just, you can look at it in like a cynical way, but you can also look at it in like a comedic or like a, you know, like a, oh, well, you know, might as well. But
It is.
I don't want to, I don't ever want to take that black pill and just be like full of despair. You know, it's like,
no,
there's always hope. There's always, you know, it's always just around the corner, and, you know, don't chase it like a, you know, lost puppy, but like do something with it. Make the corner every time you turn the corner, make it worthwhile, you know, make it mean something to you. And whatever that is in any situation, it's like, you have to keep going, because once you stop, you're dead. You know, once you get there, you're done. So it's just like, make it worth it. You know, if you're going to take the chance or expose yourself or put something out there, like, it's got to be worth it. And I'm just kind of talking out my ass, you know?
No, I mean, you're right.
It's beautiful.
If you're dealt a shit hand, you can't just fucking throw in the cards.
You better fucking bluff and win that fucking pot, you know? It's like, fuck it,
you gotta
here we
look
go.
at the bright side and fucking go for gold, man. Like
Kenny Rogers, or not Kenny, is that Kenny Rogers? No, fuck, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold.
That is Kenny. That's got to be Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, the gambler. Yeah,
he's the gambler.
Yeah, and that's a great metaphor for life too. You got to know when to, but no, and you know, I don't know. I'm just fucking.
No, it's
a lot of
true,
metaphors
man.
tonight. A lot of good ones.
Hell yeah! Well, because everything's metaphor again. Because all we can ever do is personify that thing right around the corner. We can never name it. I've been saying this. It's unnameable. So we can only chase after it. But I think that's why we were talking about like cheesy phrases that are true, is like, it's not about the destination, it's the journey. You know what I mean? You know, the map is not the terror. Well, no, maybe that's something else. I'm just stoned, whatever. But yeah, it's about the journey, you know, that's the destiny. You're not, and Alan Watts always gave a great metaphor for that. He's like, you don't go to a concert or a symphony, he put it, to just hear the ringing of one note and then it's over. It's not about the ending. It's about the whole story. And maybe that's us. We are the whole story, but we have to experience it individually, because there's no experience at that level or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, because maybe at that level, it's just everything. You know, you are everything, and everything is you. And if there's no experience, how do you put that in perspective? I guess I don't know, man. This is
I am he, and you are me, and we are all together.
Yeah, I kind of wish I was
There's
stoned.
messages in those songs, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude. Well,
one of them's dead.
I don't want. One of them's dead. I'm dead.
Oh, God.
Well, I don't want to keep you forever, man. I mean, I could talk to you for fucking hours, but
hell yeah, man. We could do it again sometime too.
I think we should. I think we should
have one question for you before we wrap.
Yeah,
it
let's
up.
hit it with some
Hell
closing.
yeah, man. Puddz, I haven't heard enough from you tonight. We've been hogging the mics.
I'm the quiet one, man. I'm sitting here learning and I throw in
observing
here and there.
I told him at the beginning, I was like, I've talked too much today. You got to handle it. And of course, I just fucking go off. I can't.
I thought you were gonna be like, I told him before they're so. Shut up.
There's so much. We had legit bad on last week. We did a swapcast with them.
Love those.
And
love those humans. Awesome. They are the most beautiful humans. Love them.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. But I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Kyle kept just hogging the mic.
Pretty sure I have a text from Joe waiting for me right here.
Nice. Anyways, my question. I was on your Instagram today, and I saw you were a metalhead.
Absolutely, forever and ever.
Who are your like top bands? Who do you love?
I would say if I had to name one that most people would know that don't even know metal, I'd have to say all-encompassing Lamb of God is the best representation for the metal that I cherish, and the mentality that comes out of metal music is encapsulated very well in a band like Lamb of God, or if you want to go a little further, maybe Whitechapel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw Lamb of God live. They opened for Metallica. It was awesome, but they didn't finish the set because the guitar player, like the middle of one of the solos, because I wasn't familiar with him at the time. He's just fucking shredding, and some guy in the fucking mosh pit throws a beer at him, all over his guitar, all over him. He fucking stops playing. The band keeps going, and he just fucking point. He's like, I'm coming down there. You're getting up here. I'm kicking your fucking ass. And like the band stopped playing, and once they stopped, the fucking crowd just beat the fuck out of this guy, and security pulled them out. I mean, like, and then they just like, walked off stage. They were pissed, but it was a good show up until that point.
Did they do the wall of death?
Oh, dude,
Oh
it was
my
nuts.
God.
Like the whole bottom of it was at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. Like the whole the stage was pretty small for how big the arena is.
Yeah.
And the whole bottom floor was just mosh pit, dude. I mean, people were fucking getting knocked. I was up and I could see it. Like people were going fucking down, dude. Like just fucking knocked out. It was awesome.
Yeah. Wall of death is the scariest thing I've ever experienced in a mosh pit. Just
That's
two
where you
walls of people
Oh yeah, just
waiting for like the beat to drop and just running at each other. And I still maintain, being a part of many of those, it's all out of love.
Yeah.
We used to call the mosh pit was church. You know what I mean?
It's like
Because
Red
we'd
Rover, send everybody.
always, yeah, we'd always pick each other back up. I mean, a couple fights would break out inevitably. Testosterone's going nuts in there. It was mostly
Yeah.
from people getting bumped into from not wanting to be a part of the mosh pit. And I totally respected that. I think they should all be able to do their thing. Just don't get near us. Because, you know, we're the one doing spin kicks and shit. So, but yeah, I found out from a really early age that like metal put me in a category in a lot of people's eyes in like middle school. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at that age, that was kind of my like first red pill. It was like, well, what's going on? Because all that music they listen to that just says the same crap all the time. And it's like John Lennon's argument to Paul McCartney, the silly little love songs, you know, everywhere, you know, stop. But like, I think it's just that really permeated with my soul at that time, at my young age. And I started seeking out those bands that were really speaking to me. And maybe that's controlled opposition. I don't think so though. You know, where's the line? I was in bands, we got recognized. Friends of mine were in much popular bands, like on a national scale. So what, did they suddenly get like taken over by machines or something? You know, no. I think if people just say that about metal a lot, that's why I just had to reference that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you guys metalheads at all?
I enjoy it quite a bit. I probably shouldn't consider myself a metalhead because it's like I don't just solely listen to metal, you know, it's few and far.
Oh, neither do I. Just to clarify, there's so much beautiful music out there that doesn't involve screaming and crazy triplets and double blast beats and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I was into it for a while. But yeah, I just was never like, you know, like I was like a rocker kid in middle school and stuff. But I was more like AC/DC, Metallica, things like that.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, I've been to a few metal shows, had a good time. I like some of it. I just never like stuck with it, you know.
Fair enough.
But I've always respected the metalheads, you know, because it's like they fucking know good music too, because it's and the musicians in the bands and stuff. Like, because I was a guitar player and I like always wanted to fucking learn how to do sweeps and shit. I'm like, holy fuck, that's so impressive. Like, and it's like, oh my god, it's so
some of the most
impressive.
talented musicians ever.
Yeah, and I think they're underrated, honestly, in my opinion. You know?
Well, and then they're mimicked. That's yet again the mimicry, because then like 5-10 years later, you hear a riff like on the radio from some like fake mimic metal band like Five Finger Fart Punch or whatever, and they're like, yeah, and it's like all of a sudden there's a guitar riff there and you're like, well, wait a minute, that's just like a dumbed down slower version of what Veil of Maya did in this song like 5 years ago. Like, what's going on there? It's all just stripped of like these awesome ideas that just come out of that raw spirit. You can connect metal to like, you know, the purest form of art is like super passionate and, you know, sometimes violent, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's got that raw attitude, and they just try to suck it out and use it somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we could ramble off into a million different directions here, of course.
So I guess like,
have you ever? I went to in Philadelphia one time. I went to a metal and beer fest, and it was absolutely incredible. I heard that this is probably I felt like a bad Christian boy because I saw Mayhem on Easter Sunday.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Blasphemous of you.
It was. I felt horrible about it, but it was an incredible concert, dude. Like,
That's awesome.
there were so many good bands. I wish I could remember all of them.
There's
But
a lot.
At the Gates was incredible.
Oh, they're amazing musicians.
Yeah, dude. I got to see them live there, and oh my word, that was probably my favorite band out of the whole the whole festival. But
So Andy, if you know, for our audience, like if you had to have any parting words, like let's say I'll never hear from us or see us ever again, which I know is not the case, but like what would you leave us with? You know what I mean? Like if you were just like, you know, here's here's my 2 cents. Like what would, you know, just to kind of wrap this all up, because we went fucking deep tonight and it's fitting with the deep share and the big dumb. Like we got a little dumb on our end, technology and shit. And you went
it's
fucking
never been this bad.
It has,
I'm
yeah.
gonna throw
And
that
you
out
went
there.
fucking deep, which I loved, and we could do it for hours. But like, if you just had to leave us with a little parting gift, what would it be? I know that's hard.
Yeah, that's a
Don't
really
buy the mimicry and continue to seek the truth. I mean, that's just keep digging, because it's what we're going to do forever. If it's going to make us more aware as time goes on. This isn't a hobby. This is an awakening for all of us. It really is. And you don't have to look at it in a spiritual way. It can be as human as you want it to be. But this is a wake-up call in so many different ways. The past couple of years, this decade, this century, whatever, however big perspective you want to look at it, it's a wake-up call, and it's been coming, and it's time to answer it. That's what I would say.
That's beautiful, man. And I want to get some. I want after the show, or you can message us, or whatever.
Sure.
Some of these books that you've read that kind of refer to this mimicry, because it's still kind of a new concept to me. Like it's always been in the back of my head, but
yeah, we'll talk off air real quick after this. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Before we do that, yeah, please give my audience some parting words. Like, what do you guys think is coming down the pipe? Do you have hopeful thoughts for the next 5-10 years? Do you think we're gonna come out victorious here?
I mean, I'd like to say yes, but it's like what we talked about all night. It's like always just around the corner, you know. But it's like go at it with a good heart, with good intentions, you know. And of course, they say the path to hell is paved with good intentions. But don't be afraid, you know. It's like at the end of the day, like fear is the worst thing that you can experience, you know. Whether it's
that's what all of this is trying to make you do, is be afraid. And fear.
It's like whether it's a real danger or not, the fear is real. And if you, I always say, love overcomes fear, man. If you can just, and I struggle with this every day, man, because I deal with people and I'm like, fuck you, you know. But it's like I need to come at it with love, and I hope others do too, because I would want. It's like the golden rule. Like if I can approach something with love, love will come back to me. But I'll be honest, I'm fearful quite often, and it's not healthy, you know. So I'm working on it, and I hope those listening, you're working on it with me, and you can help me too. Just go out with love, and I say that all the time, but it's so hard, man. It's so hard in this day and age, especially like us. We know so much, we see it all, and it's hard to have that love there. But I think it's so important. That's why conversations like this, man, I've gotten nothing but love from you tonight, and like
right back at you guys.
Been fantastic.
I would say it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
As hard as that is to imagine, because shit's pretty bad right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, like, don't be no matter what your beliefs are and what those around you's beliefs are, treat everybody with love and just don't be an asshole.
Yeah. That's the golden rule. That's what Google needs in their fine print. Don't be an asshole. You know, they took the don't be evil thing out years ago. So put in don't be an asshole. Simple as that.
Bastard, just don't be an ass about it. You know,
that's the biggest, I think, divider and problem right now is people are just being assholes to each other, dude.
Show me your papers.
It's a huge problem right now, man. People are just at each other's throats because of one simple disagreement, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they that and they're like, oh, you're the worst person, I can't be friends with you, or whatever, you know. Like,
yeah,
it's going around. Yeah,
you need to not be that way. And I mean, both of us are at fault for you know, that kind of mindset at times, and it's something I need to remind myself about. Like, no matter how I'm like, man, fuck you, but like, no, I love you, and like we can find agreement somewhere. We don't have to be hateful towards each other. So
yeah, man, that was beautiful. So obviously, the Big Dumb Podcast, we can find you where? On all the controlled opposition websites, just like me?
Absolutely. And we're finally at the point now where if you Google us or type in the YouTube search bar, we're the first one that pops up now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I take that's a win, baby.
Hell yeah, man. I agree. It felt great when I was like, oh, I could Google myself and it's not 7 pages deep.
Yeah. And we've adapted the podcasting 2.0 system. So we're on all podcast apps, like all of them. And I recommend, as much as I love those, 5-star reviews on Apple, get a podcasting app that you actually like and enjoy, and because it's better for everybody. So check us out there. Hit us up on social media. We love, as much as we hate the platforms, we love the people. We love to talk and take questions, and we do live stream sometimes, and we love having people there. So and this is a changing and growing show, so come and change and grow with us. And then obviously, where can people find you, my man?
Awesome. Same thing, man. I'm on all the places, Twitter, even Facebook. For some reason, I just don't even bother. I mean, it's just nonsense over there. But Instagram, YouTube, Odyssey, you can find me there. But I just put out my new website, so you can find me at thedeepshare.com. Just no podcast, because it's more than a podcast. I want this to branch out eventually into many different ideas. So we'll see where that takes me. Cool. But it's been awesome talking to you guys. This was a great show.
Pleasure, man.
Yeah,
well,
man,
everyone who came from the Deep Share and all the big dummies out there, thank you guys for
Hell yeah, guys. Everybody have a great night out there.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Deep Share Podcast. If you want to hear more, then hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all the social places. And remember, think for yourself, but don't always believe what you think. Till next time.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, vegetarian. Enough, I get the point.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And you will atone.
What do we know? What do we know? If I know what we know, then I can tell you what we know, and if someone else knows, okay?